When Liam Rosenior was appointed as the head coach of Chelsea Football Club, the reaction was mixed, to put it kindly.
I don't think it's an appointment that I think is going to sort of push Chelsea on to win a Premier League title or a Champions League trophy, and that's what Chelsea should be aspiring to. That's what they've been used to.
I'll tell you what, he's got good knowledge.
Yeah.
He's a very good coach. Look, it's a different sort of kettle of fish with Chelsea.
Yeah.
There's a lot of egos, a lot of bigger players, and it's probably a harder dressing room to run because there is a lot of big players in that dressing room. But if he can get the best out of the players, then you've got to give him an opportunity and get behind him.
Under Bluco, Chelsea had become a bit of a circus at times, and Rosenior felt like another gamble. He was coming from Strasbourg and replacing Enzo Maresca, a man who had won 2 trophies for Chelsea.
Maresca's 18-month spell at Stamford Bridge comes to an end after a run of just 1 win in 7 Premier League games has the Blues 5th in the table.
Liam Rosenior, and I'm being told that those talks are ongoing, but they did go very well. Rosenior will be the Chelsea head coach.
Many people question whether Rosenior was ready for a job this big, while others raised the concern that if Maresca wasn't supported, why would this guy be any different? But Rosenior has actually been doing pretty well. In his first month, Chelsea played 9 games across 4 competitions and won 7 of those games. Their only loss came against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup. In the Premier League, he was actually dominant, winning his first 4 games in charge. Now that might sound super simple given the teams that Chelsea played, but this is exactly where Maresca's Chelsea struggled, winning games they were supposed to win. Rosenior fixed that quickly, and not only does the football look good, but the vibes are just splendid.
A lot's been said about him. I think he answered that with his performance today and 3 goals, and hopefully we can still see more ice. Sorry. Sorry, that just threw me.
I think today was my dream game, my first trophy, man of the match, 2 goals. The gaffer is very good. But I think
the players have all talked about how they enjoy his human touch. Now, out of context, that sounds ridiculous, like Rosenior is touching them in the shower or something. But it's more that he's connecting with them on an emotional level as well as on a footballing level. So despite all the doubts that still follow him, Rosenior is delivering results and a clear style of football pretty much immediately. The big question is, how has Rosenior ball work this fast at Chelsea? After the 3-2 Carabao Cup semi-final first leg loss to Arsenal, Rosenior played down the idea that he's completely reinvented Chelsea.
I have to say the players have been magnificent with me in the messages they've taken on. There are small minor tweaks that I am making. My style was very similar to the previous coach, but you always have to have your own way of playing, your own idea. They're trying to put that into practice. The biggest problem for us is that we had a lot of illness, injury, and we're playing against a very, very good team.
What he really meant was that the details have changed. The pressing triggers are different now. The patterns when playing out from the back are slightly adjusted. It's the same base idea that Chelsea were using under Maresca, but the execution has been a bit sharper. That tracks with what Rosenior showed at Strasbourg. Last season, he took them to 7th in Ligue 1, building a reputation for being flexible tactically. His teams like short passing and pressing aggressively man-to-man. Strasbourg actually beat a lot of big sides in Ligue 1, like Paris Saint-Germain, Marseille, Lyon, and Lille at home. You are seeing qualities from that team in his Chelsea side now. So while Rosenior insists that the changes are small, they're very deliberate changes. And they're changes that have already made Chelsea look more organized, more aggressive, and a lot harder to play against. Now, Chelsea have basically stuck with the 4-2-3-1 in every Premier League game since August of 2024, back when Enzo Maresca first came in. The players have changed all the time, but the structure has remained the same. What you do notice with Rosenior though is that on the ball, his team looks more fluid. His base idea is very simple. He wants his side to control the game, to dominate possession, and pin teams back. It's not that different from what Enzo Maresca wanted. The fullbacks play a huge role in this. They push high and move inside to create overloads, especially in midfield. A common tweak is the left back drifting into midfield almost like a number 10. That turns the shape into a box midfield and gives Chelsea a 4v3 advantage in central areas. It makes it harder for teams to press and easier for Chelsea to play through the middle instead of just forcing everything out wide. You could see it clearly in the FA Cup game against Charlton. Hato stepped inside into midfield while the right back Achampong tucked in to form a back 3. So again, this is the same base shape that we saw under Maresca. A lot of this work usually falls to Marc Cucurella. He's constantly making runs in behind or underlapping into the half spaces, which has become really important when Chelsea are facing deep, compact defenses almost every single week. There's a lot of haram low blocks in the Premier League now. But these kind of runs help a lot. It's one of the main reasons they were able to break down Burnley in a 2-0 away win back in November. On the right hand side, things change depending on who's playing out wide. When Cole Palmer starts, Chelsea's shape becomes even more fluid. Palmer, as the main creative threat, drifts into central areas. That gives Malo Gusto the license to push high and occupy the last line, while Cucurella drops deeper to form a back three in possession. You saw this perfectly in the away game against Fulham. Enzo Fernandez started as the number 10, drifted wide to pull the defenders out, then Palmer stayed high to stretch the back line, and then Gusto stepped into midfield as the link-up player, connecting the two number 6s, who were Moises Caicedo and Andre Santos. It's the same basic principle that we saw under Maresca, but there's subtle changes. There's different rotations that give Chelsea more passing angles and more control in the middle, and it allows them to break teams down without losing their structure. We had seen this in Liam Rosenior's first home game as well, which was that Carabao Cup defeat against Arsenal. Chelsea built into their box midfield, and almost everyone was involved. Fofana stepped in with a brave vertical pass straight into Marc Guiu. Guiu sets it first time to the number 10, João Pedro, and suddenly Chelsea are playing through Arsenal instead of around them. This is where the double pivot really shows its value. Andre Santos and Enzo Fernandez stay connected underneath the ball, giving Chelsea control and security in case the move breaks down. Santos being used more often is another big difference between Rosenior and Maresca. What's interesting in this example is that Achampong, acting as the extra number 10 from right back, never actually touches the ball, but his role is still massive. By drifting inside, he pins Jurrien Timber, which opens a clean passing lane out to Estevao on the right. Estevao cuts inside onto a stronger left foot and forces a strong save from Raya. That's Rosenior's Chelsea in a nutshell so far. That's the kind of movement and passing he wants to see. Down the left especially, Chelsea have been a real problem, and that's actually impressive when you consider that they don't really have a clear first choice striker. Like João Pedro is very good, but he likes to drop in and play more like a false 9 rather than an out and out number 9. What's really stood out under Rosenior is how good Chelsea have been at attacking the back post. They actually lead the Premier League in back post goals with 9. Their timing is excellent. The midfielders arrive late, the far side winger crashes the back post, and suddenly crosses have 2 or 3 real targets instead of just 1. Pedro Neto has been key here. I know this guy can be frustrating to watch. Even Rosenior wasn't too impressed when he was watching him for the first time as a Chelsea manager. But from the right, this guy delivers some nasty in-swinging crosses. In fact, only Tottenham and Newcastle have scored more goals from crosses this season than Chelsea's 8. Now we get to Chelsea's pressing. Chelsea have always been a much better pressing team than they are as a low block or mid-block defending type of team, and Rosenior has leaned into that. From the opposition goal kicks, the plan is to squeeze the team high up the pitch and funnel them into traps. Their setup is actually pretty smart. Chelsea go almost man for man across the pitch, but with one key detail. The left winger stays high, right up against the opposition right center back, while the left back holds a deeper position. That shape tempts the goalkeeper or center back into playing the ball out to the right back. The moment that pass is played, Chelsea jump aggressively and lock that side down. The whole idea is to push the team wide and stop them from building through the middle, where Chelsea are the most vulnerable. A lot of this works because of Moises Caicedo. Chelsea lean heavily on his reading of the game and his ability to win the ball back cleanly. The Ecuadorian has more interceptions than anyone else in the Premier League this season, and Chelsea as a team also lead the league in interceptions. Now when you watch Rosenior's Chelsea, they're not just recklessly pressing. It's way more controlled and aggressive than what it might seem, and it's another example of Rosenior making small tweaks to Maresca's existing system and having a big impact very quickly. Another example can be seen in the game against Wolves. About 4 minutes into the second half, Chelsea pressed straight from a drop ball, and you can see Rosenior's ideas play out perfectly. One of the big triggers that Rosenior has talked about is a backward pass to the goalkeeper. The moment that happens, Chelsea go. The number 9 jumps to press, he curves his run to block the passing lane back to the center back who just played the ball, and that small detail stops Wolves from resetting through the middle. From there, everything is connected. The winger, in this case Pedro Neto, arcs his run to take away the wide outlet. That forces the ball towards the fullback, which is exactly what Chelsea want. As soon as that pass is played, Gusto steps up aggressively. When they get this right, Chelsea end up completely going 1v1 on that side of the pitch. There's no free passes, no easy outlets. They're just piling on pressure, all triggered by one backward pass. It's a great example of how Rosenior hasn't just told Chelsea to press more, but when to press, and it's that timing that makes the system work. We saw the same ideas pop up again in the Champions League win over Pafos FC. It was just with a different trigger. This time it was a backwards throw-in. As soon as that ball went back, Chelsea spring their press. Delap, who was playing as the number 9, does a really smart job of cutting the pitch in half. He presses while blocking the return pass from the center back to the goalkeeper, taking away an easy reset. At the same time, Pedro Neto stays tight to lock the outside center back against the touchline. With both central and wide exits closed, Pafos are boxed in with nowhere to play. These are different situations, but the same principle. Rosenior's Chelsea aren't just running around like chickens with their head cut off. They're waiting for specific cues, then jumping together like the people who rob you in London. The Napoli game was the third in a row where Chelsea had to deal with a 3-4-3 after facing the same shape against Pafos in the Champions League and Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Because of that, Chelsea had to adjust how they pressed again. Napoli tried to bait Chelsea in, the same way I rage bait people on Twitter. They set up with both wingbacks deep, 3 center backs, and 2 midfielders sitting right on the edge of their own box, basically inviting pressure so they could play through it and go long. Chelsea responded with a familiar trap, just tweaked slightly. On the left, Cucurella was the one jumping out to press the wingback. Chelsea deliberately left the far side open, because Estevao tucked in to block the central midfield options instead. That meant that Chelsea had spare players behind the press. Moises Caicedo and Reece James, who was filling in at center back, were free to step up if the ball broke through. Now this didn't initially work, but Rosenior showed that he's willing to adapt his press depending on the opponent, even if that means accepting some more risk. And that flexibility is a big reason why Chelsea have looked so good so quickly. You could see the same pressing traps at work in the away win over Crystal Palace, with one example coming on each side of the pitch. In the first one, it doesn't quite work. Moises Caicedo drops off Adam Warren a bit too early, which lets Chris Richards step in and break Chelsea's first line of pressure without much trouble. Wharton then finds Mateta, who manages to hold the ball up, and Badiashile ends up fouling him to stop the move. A few minutes later though, Chelsea get it right. This time, Caicedo is much more aggressive stepping onto Warren. Pedro Neto forces Canvo to play inside, exactly where Chelsea want the ball to go. Caicedo reads it, jumps in, and wins it clearly. It's the same idea but 2 very different outcomes. When the timing is right, Chelsea's press looks suffocating. When it's not, they can be exposed. Rosenior hasn't just improved Chelsea tactically, he's made some key players feel trusted again, and that might be the biggest upgrade of all. You see, under Enzo Maresca, there was a growing feeling that Cole Palmer was being held back. The system seemed rigid, focused on control and ball retention, so sometimes Palmer's natural creativity didn't always fit. There were moments where he looked frustrated, sometimes playing outside the instructions just to make things happen. Rosenior changed that straight away. It's also helped that I think Palmer's feeling more healthy, but he's back to being a proper number 10 with real freedom to roam and improvise on the go. Now keep in mind, Palmer hasn't been perfect under Rosenior, but his first half hat-trick against Wolves was him reminding the world that when he's on his game, he is Chelsea's main man. Then you have Andre Santos. Now he already knows Rosenior's ideas inside and out from their time together in France, and that familiarity has helped him settle fast. Rosenior has praised Santos for all the little things. Things like making selfless runs, or doing the unseen work that helps the other stars shine. Even with competition from Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, Santos has already started a lot of games under Rosenior because the Englishman trusts him. He can play box to box, he can sit deeper, he can even slot into a back 3. For a guy like Rosenior who really values flexibility, that makes Santos incredibly valuable. Then we have João Pedro. He's become Chelsea's main goal threat. His stunning 25-yard strike against Napoli showed just how confident he has become. João Pedro himself has openly talked about the difference between Rosenior's more electric style and Maresca's control-heavy approach.
Yeah, everything is very quickly for us because changed the gaffer, and Leon tried to put his ideas on our mind. You don't have too much time to think about it, but you try to learn quick as possible. Yeah, be amazing. Electric, he's electric, so yeah, it's very good, man.
Enzo Fernandez has also looked like a beast. Whether he's been used as a number 10 or as a number 8, he's balled out, reminding the world that he's one of the very best out there in his position.
I love Enzo because he's world class in all of the roles you've just mentioned. You can play him as a deep line 6 who can get on the ball and make 100 passes a game. You could play him as an 8, as a box to box, and he can arrive in the box and score goals, but also defend his own box, and you can play him as a 10 because he can connect, he can create assists and score goals. He's just a magnificent footballer. My job, he gives me tactical flexibility for each game against different opposition. My job is to find what functions around him the best, so that the team functions with him in the very best way.
I also want to give a shout out to Robert Sanchez. I used to think that this guy was a massive liability, but he has been really good for Chelsea so far. He's the type of player who will be viral everywhere when he makes a mistake, but when he's been playing good for months, nobody says anything. So even as a big Sanchez critic, I'm gonna give him his flowers. Now, despite improving so many players, Rosenior continues to be mocked, disrespected, and memed. His way of speaking, which is very polished, very expressive, has made him an easy target. Fans joke about him being linked in Lyon. Of course, you have that quote of his that went viral when he was describing the word manage.
The English manage, if you split the two words, it's man, age. You're aging men. You're aging men.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I don't know, man. I can't even defend him on that one. I will say if football doesn't work for Rosenior, he would make a great politician, because that man could sell lube to a nun. Then you have the whole team laughing at him when he tried to bring the ball down on the sideline.
It was at this moment he knew. He fucked up.
Poor Rosenior. He thought he was going to be in an Aura Farm edit, and now he has Estevao questioning how he ever played professional football. Instead of pushing back though, Rosenior has leaned into the joking. He's openly said that he can laugh at himself and that life's too short to care about memes.
We start with Chelsea head coach Leon Rosenior. He says he's unbothered by online memes about him, but it has been getting to his family, including his parents. He insists he wouldn't be able to do his job if he took to heart what he's heard, which has included comparisons to TV characters like David Brent and Will Mackenzie from The Inbetweeners. He said, "I'm not afraid to be myself. If I wear glasses, if I sound a little bit over the top when I speak or articulate myself in a certain way, or I don't look like a manager, it doesn't bother me at all. It affects my parents, it affects my family. But I knew walking into this job it was going to happen. There's no way you can do this job if you're affected negatively by it."
That attitude has rubbed off on the players too, because reportedly, they replayed the clip of his poor first touch to him in training, and everybody had a laugh. What players seem to appreciate the most is how human Rosenior is. He's not distant or cold. He jokes with the players, he messes around in training, and he keeps things relaxed without losing standards. Journalists have described it as a real reset in the dressing room, though I do think that when Chelsea start losing, the media will try to frame Rosenior's more human touch as an example of him not having authority in the locker room. Let's see. Now, the man management side is important, but it only matters if it shows up when the pressure is on. And under Rosenior, Chelsea have already delivered a couple of wins that say a lot about this team's mentality. In January of 2026, they pulled off something they'd never done before in the Premier League. Away at West Ham, they were awful in the first half and went down 2-0. A few weeks earlier, that game's probably dusted and over. Instead, Rosenior acted immediately. At halftime, he made 3 big changes, bringing on Marc Cucurella, João Pedro, and Wesley Fofana. Immediately, those guys had an impact, and Chelsea flipped the game, scoring 3 unanswered goals, with Enzo Fernandez smashing in the stoppage time winner. It was the first time in Premier League history that Chelsea had won a match after being 2 goals down at halftime. Even bigger than that was what happened in Europe. Chelsea's 3-2 win away at Napoli. You see, Napoli hadn't lost a home game in over a year, and Rosenior didn't get everything right at first. He tried to match Antonio Conte's 3-back, but Chelsea struggled and went down 2-1. But this is where Rosenior stands out. He realized his mistake and switched back to a back 4. And then João Pedro took over, firing an outrageous 25-yard equalizer, then in the 82nd minute, the winner. That result sealed Chelsea's 6th place finish in the Champions League phase and automatic qualification for the round of 16. 2 games, 2 very different situations, but the same theme. Chelsea are becoming a team now that believes they can turn things around even when it gets super tough. Now, a big reason for that is because of Chelsea's new signings that came in the summer, specifically João Pedro and Estevao. To see just how good the Chelsea Samba duo has been, you have to check out this video right here.